Welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk About It. Today we'll be talking about voice over IP. What is it? So this is a good topic today, Sean. Voice over IP. What is that?
Just a sec, James. I've got a voice over IP call. I'll just send it to voicemail. So voice over IP, great phone technology that's being used now, especially given the fact that many of us are working from home still, and maybe for the foreseeable future. So voice over IP systems, they can be systems that are hosted at your local office. They can be cloud-based systems, which are hosted in a data center. And the great thing about it is that it's a fully featured phone system at a very reasonable cost, but really takes your phone system and makes it work for you. So, you know, you get all the normal things you would have in a phone system, voicemail, and being able to transfer to various extensions, all of that. But the other really neat thing you can do is you can answer it on your cell phone, you could answer it on your computer, you can actually have a normal desk phone and answer it on that. So it gives you a lot of options, on how you deal with the phone system. And then there are other features that it usually includes as well, like there's conferencing features, there are video conferencing features that are included. So that is all part of the phone system now. It really ties your communication system into
Makes
one
it
unified
streamlined
system.
and seamless, right? So this probably has brought up a bunch more questions now. So I'll just maybe step back a bit and we'll clarify how a phone system traditionally would work versus how it would work with voice over IP. So literally, you know, when we say voice over IP, it's literally your phone calls going over the internet. Not necessarily has to be over the internet, but of course, on a network at least, your phones plug in, they're very similar to a computer, they'll have an Ethernet wire, right? Whereas traditionally you would have these little phone wires, we've all seen them, the RJ11 thin little wires, and they're typically plugged into a separate jack in the wall, and then those phones of course would connect to the phone system that was in the server room, let's say, or wherever all the phone lines are. And typically those are managed by using the handset. You'd pick it up, you'd dial some key combinations to change voicemail, to get into voicemail boxes, things like this.
And it's usually fairly expensive and not something you necessarily do yourself.
Agreed. So that's the next point I was going to get to, is that you're pretty much going to need a consultant to assist with these phone systems. They're usually a lot more complex than the voice over IP, which we would consider it as self-managed. People can log into the web interface, do a lot of the things there on their own. You'd need to get someone in to, you know, at least give you some guidance on how to do these systems, how to do these features, let's say, in an older phone system. The other thing is that you're kind of married to, if you will, a service provider for phone lines. So whether it be, you know, the big players like Bell or Videotron or Rogers, you'd have to buy lines from them and then, you know, configure them in this phone system, right? So that there's multiple desks and be talking at the same time, things like that. Again, you know, your hands are kind of tied with that service provider. If for some reason they decide to raise their prices, you're kind of stuck, right? Then there's long distance. You're paying long distance separately than your phone lines usually. Whereas with voice over IP, it's kind of included, and it's not just local, right? It would be even international.
Yeah, a lot of the systems, you know, certainly include Canadian long distance in our case, or North American long distance, and even the pricing for, you know, going to long distance beyond that is very, very inexpensive.
Very reasonable, yeah. And the other thing that you were kind of held hostage was your phone number, right? It kind of was stuck with that provider. If you moved across town to another area code, let's say, perhaps you would lose that phone number or be prompted to get a new one or maybe forward that line. There would be added expenses there. Whereas now you can keep that phone number, it can always be yours. And this is part of the benefits of the voice over IP, in my opinion, is that it's a big process to move that phone number from one provider to another. So typically, you know, you want to plan that out right. You want to check with your MSP first to make sure that, you know, if I'm going to move my phone lines away from a big provider, it's now your phone number. How do you manage that properly so that the phone doesn't stop ringing, so that, you know,
The other great thing you can do with that is take and have a phone number. If you want it to be available as a local number in other cities, it's very easy to, you know, we're in Ottawa. If I want to add a phone number in Toronto, Montreal, it's very, very easy to do and tie that into your whole system.
Yeah, so I think it's a major advantage for a lot of people, and it will save them money almost definitely when they switch. and the management becomes simpler. Again, we want them to check with us, and we'll give them their feedback depending how many phones you need, how many lines you currently have. Do you have a fax machine you still use? I think some people are still using fax.
which you can get, like I get my faxes on my mobile phone as part of it. Yeah, so it makes it very easy to move around. The other neat thing is if I leave the office, and even if I was talking on my desk phone when I'm in the office, I can, during the call, transfer it to my mobile phone, head out to my car and drive away, and I'm still on the same conversation.
Yeah.
Or if you're working from home today and not tomorrow, the phone travels with you without physically taking a phone and hauling it around.
Yeah, we don't even need handsets anymore, do we?
That's right. You don't have to have a handset. You've got a mobile phone or your computer, and you can answer on either of those, and it works very well.
Makes it almost like an in-house call center where you'll have an app on your computer with a headset on, and you're answering your phone right on your computer.
Yeah. The other really great thing with it is most of the systems include some sort of video calling system that allows you to have video calls with it. You can even, if you wanted to have a conference call by video, and then share your computer screen to show somebody a PowerPoint presentation or what have you. You can do all that with the systems as well. So they're very, very feature rich, but without a big cost behind it. It's really a low entry to get into.
Oh, for sure. Your voicemails come in as an email. So
that's
you can
right.
Listen to them right on your computer.
Yeah, and makes it easy to move them around as well.
Forward them to other people to delegate the work or deal with it.
Plus, you can have an IVR where the system answers as an auto attendant, and if you want, it can distribute the calls as you like, and you can have numerous levels in that as well.
That's a really good point.
You have a number of divisions.
Because we wouldn't have that with a traditional phone system. Not as flexible.
Not as flexible at all. It's much more complicated, and the voice over IP systems. It's very, very easy to add on hold music. You can do custom messages on them. So all that is very easy to do. It's at your fingertips. You generally don't need to bring in some consultant to configure all that for you. It's quite easy to do.
It's all kind of built in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things a lot of people have problems with voice over IP, or when they hear about it, is the performance. It goes over the internet. What if my internet's slow? Things like that. What would you say to those people that thought that it's not as good as a traditional phone system, not as reliable, not as fast?
I think the other great thing about that is, even if an internet connection was down, and generally your internet is pretty solid these days, it does happen, but even if the internet were to go down in a traditional phone system, if the phone goes down, you can't really do anything. With at least with a cloud-based voice over IP system, if your internet connection goes down, you can go somewhere where the internet is available and get your calls there. You can use your cellular connection to get your calls
app on your phone.
And even if your calls are not ringing on your phone, your voicemail would still work.
Still getting them,
and you could still call into it.
You're not missing calls as you might be if you had a power outage, right?
That's right. Even during a power outage, those calls are still going to go to voicemail, which you'll be able to pick up.
We hope this has brought you some value, and now you've learned a little bit more about voice over IP, and we hope to see you next time on Let's Talk About It.
Thanks.